stick. When the West negotiates a ceasefire, the carrot is there's peace. The stick is we'll be angry if you break it. With Vladimir Putin, the stick is I will bomb you if you break the ceasefire.
Yeah.
And so.
I see.
Need any more proof that the United States has lost some major stature on the world stage? How the mighty have fallen. Today, it was the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and not President Obama, who announced that there is a ceasefire deal in Syria. And we're not even a part of it. The most high-profile bloodbath in the world right now going on, especially in Aleppo. According to Russian media, Putin got the Syrian regime and rebels to lay down their weapons after nearly 6 years of civil war. More than 500,000 people have reportedly died. Meanwhile, President Obama on vacation in Hawaii, eating shave ice and jumping around in the waves in his mom shorts. Running out the clock of his waning presidency, but our involvement in the Middle East could take a major turn under the Trump administration. And here with more, it's Bryan. He's the host of The Dark Secret Place on KFI AM 640 radio in Los Angeles, also a combat war veteran. 3 military conflicts under that belt: Kuwait, Bosnia, and Iraq. Welcome back, Suits.
Happy holy days.
And the holiest to you as well. Why don't you light this dark path for us and talk about the Balkanization of Syria, a place that is just nominally a country anymore. You've got different spheres of influence, including Russia, Turkey, and Syria. They're all engaged in the ceasefire. We are not, although we have our own sphere over there. What is going on?
Well, it turns out that leading from behind creates a vacuum, and Vladimir Putin or China will fill that vacuum, and then you're not even there for the vacuuming, because this is a ceasefire that will stick. When the West negotiates a ceasefire, the carrot is there's peace. The stick is we'll be angry if you break it. With Vladimir Putin, the stick is I will bomb you if you break the ceasefire.
Yeah.
And so this is a de facto sit in place and let's negotiate the final borders. Assad has won. Putin has won. The Battle of Aleppo was the final battle in Syria. ISIS is an after effect. They're losing territory by the day. And Syria may not, when the dust settles, Syria may not look like the map that we had 5 years ago or even a year ago. But the entity of Syria with Bashar Assad will remain in power regardless. You recall that Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and President Obama said Assad must go 5 years ago. Well, he's not going anywhere. Putin guarantees it, and the United States was not even at the table. And this key NATO ally called Turkey turns out to be really nothing more than a Putin mole in NATO, because Erdogan is playing on Putin's side now. He gets something out of this as well. This is a shocking turn of events in only 8 years. Yeah,
and Erdogan, in the 8 years that we've watched under the Obama administration, he's turning into a fascist.
Well, plus the guy became a billionaire because his son is the middleman for ISIS oil. It's a filthy business, and we've been unwilling to get our hands dirty in the name of leading from behind.
Yeah.
And sorry, sometimes you got to keep the gang in line.
All right. Well, let me ask you specifically about ISIS. Let's say we eradicate ISIS in Syria. What's to keep Al-Qaeda from moving in and taking up that place in what remains to be a vacuum in much of the country?
Well, theoretically, the same thing that kept them out, in the early 2000s, and that is the Syrian government reasserting control and getting the loyalty of the Sunnis who remain, because the Free Syrian Army movement really doesn't have a hope in hell anymore, even with Saudi money or NATO money or NATO air power.
Yeah.
They have to negotiate separate, don't kill me, not the face negotiations. Al-Qaeda doesn't have a hope, and probably Assad is going to tell these guys, if you want to re-earn your citizenship in Syria, you turn your guns around and you kick ISIS in the booty and get them out.
Let's turn the guns a little bit to Russia and some of these sanctions that the president outlined today. He said all Americans should be alarmed by Russia's actions. He talked about 35 operatives being persona non grata. He talked about 9 entities and individuals, including the GRU, that will be sanctioned and singled out for punishment. Russian compounds shut down in Maryland and New York. What do you make of all this? Does any of it make a difference?
It will. The GRU operates not so clandestinely in North America, as well as their hackers in the form of the Cozy Bear, Lazy Bear groups in Russia. And so it is a shot across their bow that we're naming names, the GRU operatives on the East Coast, as well as some of the FSB people here in the U.S. But what we need to do is release the PowerPoint of how rich Putin is. And then, as I've told you before, months ago here on Kennedy, we need to have people at LAX and JFK turning pregnant Russian women around, put them back on the Aeroflot plane, and don't let them have their 14th Amendment babies in this country. They do this. It's a scam, and only the wealthy do it. Not the rank-and-file Russian, but Putin's buddies, Putin's cronies, Putin's leg humpers. They send their daughters and their wives to Los Angeles and New York to have their babies, and we should stop that immediately, because he would hear that before dinner today.
All right, well, I have a feeling that President-elect Trump shares your sentiments. Thank you very much, Bryan.
I hope so.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Coming up, all eyes will be on New York's Times Square Saturday night as the ball drops to ring in that Happy New Year. Up next, I'm going to talk with a former NYPD counterterrorism